From central Australia, across the thousands of square miles of desolate country to the coast, stretches one of the speediest and most important of Australia's construction projects. 170 years ago, the region was a vast, unexplored tract of seemingly useless country. Some of the riches of this lonely land are being taken out by the Commonwealth Railway, which extends from Alice Springs in central Australia, 771 miles south to Port Augusta. Lee Creek coalfield is the most important of the centre's new sources of wealth, dependent entirely on the rail line. But coal trains on the narrow 3 feet 6 inches line are limited to a load of 660 tons. So a new standard gauge 4 feet 8.5 inches line, capable of carrying trains of 5,500 tons, has taken its place. First step in this visionary scheme was the link-up of the open-cut mine with the coast 158 miles south. Then, with increased coal supplies reaching Port Augusta, South Australia's greatly improved power output benefits the state's expanding industries. Once the first 90 miles of track was completed, a pick-a-back system was introduced to relieve transport demands and take advantage of the new line. Standard gauge flat-top trucks were laid with 3 feet 6 inches track, permitting the entire narrow gauge train to travel to its destination without unloading. Hitherto, transfer of goods from one train to the other had consumed many hours and raised costs considerably. And in country like this, with temperatures topping the century, it's a thirsty job. The new line follows a more direct route to the centre, and surveyors concentrated on the elimination of steep grades and sharp curves. This, in turn, speeded the laying of the tracks and made it possible for the much heavier loads to be carried. As the very latest in earth-moving and consolidating equipment goes to work, great clouds of dust rise, adding to a list of working conditions which, to say the least, are unpleasant. It was a job calling for the highest construction standards. Apart from the carriage of coal from Lee Creek, passenger services, goods and livestock have faster and more economical transport. In workshops at Port Augusta, lengths of rail were assembled prior to going through the electric flash butt welding machine. Here they're welded into lengths of 270 feet, among the longest used in Australia. Welds were cleaned up by hand before going through the finishing machine. Great lengths of steel, destined to link the centre with cities in the south, needed tractors to haul them into position. Handling was cut to a minimum, for each length weighed close to 4 tons. Railway engineers make a final check to ensure correct width between rails before fettlers finally bolt them in place. At a number of points, concrete and steel bridges span creek beds, dry for most of the year, but impassable in time of flood. Tractor power was used to maneuver prefabricated sections into place. Final operation was the addition of ballast to the line. And again, up-to-date methods were brought to bear. Thousands of tons were hauled from Windy Creek, 144 miles north of Port Augusta, in special trains fitted with spreaders. Now, a twin ribbon of steel reaches far into the inland, carrying 4,000 feet long coal trains and their valuable cargoes to the outside world. A new lifeline for those who toil in the vast outback, and a potential source of untold wealth as new minerals are won from this once valueless land.